Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by Mana Traders, as well as Twitch subs and Patreon supporters just like you. My name is Evan Irwin, and get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Power Dragon.
What's up, everybody? And if nothing else this week, y'all got to remember to stay hydrated because it's starting to get hot out here, y'all.
It's getting hot out there. And Ruben Bressler, Internet's Ruben Bressler.
I just finished off a Gatorade, and I've got a bunch of water next to me. Even though I'm inside in Los Angeles, it's going to be a lot hotter where we're headed over the weekend.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm hanging out in Tennessee. It's still pretty warm over here, though.
I imagine it's going to be pretty hot there.
Pretty hot. So if you missed our pre-show, which was pretty hot, we had all sorts of fun stuff to talk about.
Nice.
Patrons get access to our extended version right after the show, as well as all the other pre-shows in the history of the show for 10 years. Jesus. That's a lot of content, by the way. If you want to go back and experience...
You have a lot you can watch before you fall asleep if you just need some background noise.
If you want to hear the dulcet tones, we got you covered.
That was my insulin yelling at me for having low blood sugar, but I have fixed it, so don't worry.
Good. And we kick it off with our first pick, which partly I think is Final Fantasy Roundup. It's been a minute since we've been here, but two, Final Fantasy's been out. It's been fun. I've had a ton of fun. I've actually been really surprised that blue is the best color in Limited, which has been blowing my mind, honestly, because blue hasn't been the best color in Limited in forever. It's been a while, so long I can't even think about it. In Constructed, it's been fine, but that leads us to standard banning talk, which happens 10 days or so, is that correct? At the end of this month, essentially,
something like that.
Sure.
Yeah,
where Monstrous Rage and Cori-Steel Cutter are just this gigantic storm cloud that has hovering over our heads. Monstrous Rage longer, because Monstrous Rage was a problem before Cori-Steel Cutter. Then Cori-Steel Cutter showed up, and it was just now let's make it worse. It's honest to God, it feels like a cranial plating moment when cranial plating showed up after Affinity was destroying everything always. It's here's just another insane piece to add to your already awesome deck.
Right. Yeah, I think I would like to see Cori-Steel Cutter allowed to continue if we're going to let things continue in standard for forever. I am ready for Monstrous Rage, Manifold Mouse, and Emberheart.
Emberheart,
hero. To hit the bench. I think that's about time.
I could be okay with Emberheart Challenger staying around. But the Rage and the Manifold Mouse, I think, are the two real problems.
I'm just tired of the Rage.
They got to kick the bucket.
Yeah. I've been thinking about making a video on Monstrous Rage and how, I don't think people understand how above and beyond rate that card is compared to any other one red mana spell, period. Ever. It's not just a combination of the fact, one red for a lightning bolt.
Well, here's the other one that I think
above.
The other one I think is an interesting conversation is Stock Up.
Stock Up is the greatest divination of all time.
It's the best divination of all time, and it's in everything. It's in, unless you're playing mono red, it's in your blue-red aggro with Cori-Steel Cutter. It's in your black-red aggro with your ninjas. It's in your blue-white control deck,
as it
if
should
you're
be.
Reanimating Omniscience or whatever. So, yeah, it's everywhere.
I think there's two other problems for me, though. I think it's, while those cards exist, you pretty much have control decks that are doing their thing to deal with those and then those decks. There's very little in the middle at the highest levels because you're either trying to outrace things or you're playing the things that try to put them under control, right? There's really very little living in the middle. Yeah. And to me, that's a bigger problem. And then I think you always have to have the conversation. If we do ban some stuff, what's the next best thing? And Omniscience, those decks really are starting to become kind of silly.
And that's fine. That if I have to focus on graveyard hate versus I don't have a piece of removal first thing in the game or I'm dead. I hate that type of sort of feeling that I've had for so long. And look, there's this weird thing that happens now, which is there's so many sets coming out at such a high rate. What Wizard says is, well, we need to wait to see what the next set does. The next set comes out, nothing changes, and they go, well, A, either it hasn't had quite enough time to impact it, or B, there's another set right around the corner, and it could change everything. And after a while, just stop blowing the smoke, man. Your problems are really clear, and it's not like it's the only thing being played, but man, it's just... and this whole thing about getting good and trying something else, man, people have gotten good and they've tried other things and it's still the best damn thing you can do. And after a while, it's just annoying. It's just really upsetting. And I'm just like, I'm tired of it. I've been here so many times as a Magic player. When things get so crazy, you just can't do anything but be with it or against it. Something's got to give. And we've been here for a while.
Yeah.
It's really
we'll see if they do anything. I don't know if they will. I think they should. I don't know if they will.
I think at the least Monstrous Rage, at the very least.
Because I'm also I've said it before. I'm more likely to ban stuff than not ban stuff. Whatever the format, whatever.
Especially like uncommons.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, there's also the general sentiment of what it does to gameplay, right? Like, even if we don't say it's overpowered, even though it is, but like, let's say it's not, right? We just think it's really strong and annoying. Like, if enough people feel that it's strong and annoying, then it eventually has negative impacts on things. And I'm okay just getting rid of it on that basis as well.
Right.
It's kind of all the way back to when we had like the Arcbound Ravager stuff. Like, it was good, but we had to ban a bajillion things just to kind of say, like, make sure the boogeyman goes away.
Whereas,
because people were so upset about it.
Whereas I don't think we have to ban a million things, because mono red is a fact of life, and that's fine.
Yeah, it'll still be playable.
Exactly. It's just that right now the mono red deck looks so different. It is such a monster, no pun intended, because you can't block, you can't really gain life, and you can't return creatures to their owners. You can't target creatures. Yeah. So being able to get rid of that stuff all over would be useful.
Now, it's funny because, there's some people are just like, well, for example, let me give you a little spoiler. I firmly believe that Monstrous Rage Cori-Steel Cutter will probably not win the Pro Tour. It almost never, it's almost always, because it's geared so hard against, it's hated so much, and these are pro players, they're really good at it, so on. They can figure it out and they can stop it. Your issue is at the local level. Allow me to bring out the old man Magic. Ladies and gentlemen, Jace the Mind Sculptor and Stoneforge Mystic were a deck in Standard. It was Cawblade in Standard. It had some of the largest tournament attendance ever. It was breaking records, and they banned Jace the Mind Sculptor because it was killing local play. It wasn't the high level stuff. High level players they like when stuff is like, A or B, because they can target A or B and get really good at it. But your average player just sits down and gets demolished by the mono red deck, literally their entire experience in Standard week in and week out. After a while, they just stop going. So if we had access to that data, I would be really interested to see what that looks like these days, because is that increasing? I don't think Standard play is increasing when it's this, overbearing.
And bro, let me tell you, like, if you hate the mono red decks, imagine playing it. For y'all that didn't do it, Cawblade wasn't a quick beating.
No.
Yeah.
Like, so them things were grindy ass beating that you had to sit through. Right. Those sucked.
Typically, when there's a dominant deck, there's two avenues out of it. One is that the deck is expensive, and so less people play it, which is what happened with Cawblade and what has happened with like the Jeskai Revelation deck, for example. Not Jeskai Revelation, Sphinx's Revelation deck. And I think that the other answer is what happened with Affinity, and is what is currently happening with Mice, which is you actually have to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's got to go.
Yeah.
I just, look, man, I'm not one that I want to, I recognize, and I've seen the arguments so many times, y'all. We've been here so many times, but I know it's dumb, but Monstrous Rage is on an absolute level that is above everything else, and it's ridiculous. And Cori-Steel Cutter was just like, you just put cranial plating in the Affinity deck, and I don't know why you did that. I don't know why you do that.
I want 2 cards gone. I've had Rage and the Manifold Mouse and the Crosshairs for 6 months now. So, like, both of them can go.
For me, Cori-Steel Cutter is one of those, like, it's clearly going to be the next best thing.
Sure.
So you ban the best thing, and you ban what's going to be the next best thing, and then you let the rest, figure it out, essentially. That's where I'm at. All right. That said, let's move out of the first pick to gather the townsfolk. Thanks to our sponsor, Mana Traders, the best tool to enhance your Magic Online experience. Use the code MagicMikes_54P, that's 54Paul, for 10% off your next subscription with Mana Traders. Tell them we sent you. We appreciate them supporting the show. As we go here into a boycott on TCGplayer. Now, It's been a minute since we've been here, so there's been a call for a boycott of TCGplayer based on how they treated their union members, or their soon-to-be union members, or there was going to be union members, and they fired them all. And then there was another update where their compensation packages for leaving were greatly increased. They were giving many more weeks of pay and whatnot, and a bonus for everyone in the bargaining unit and so on. So their severance got increased. I don't know if I ever actually saw someone going like, "Okay, cool, we're not boycotting anymore." Did I miss that? Did I miss that announcement?
No, still boycott.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, there was a union set up. They tried in good faith to a year and a half or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was over a year.
We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah,
and like they just basically ghosted, and then just fired them. And we're going to move everything to Kentucky. And we're like, huh?
Yeah, well, they put out the announcements of like, well, we have to move to Kentucky because we're having issues with our authentication service, and we can make it better if we move everything, which makes no sense at all. So like, we're going to move all this stuff to Kentucky, when in reality, it's a state with no workers' protections.
Right.
It's got a minimum wage of $7.25 or $7.50, I believe,
it's bad.
in Kentucky. So it's like, yeah, I know why you're moving people.
The labor's cheap, and the labor is, manipulable, I guess is a word, not unusable, but you can do things there you can't do in New York in the way that you were trying to work around a union or union contracts.
Sure.
And so, so this, by the way, this is us talking about it. We were just like, everyone talking about it. We're here chatting about it. I want to hear more about it if things change.
Yeah, and this has evolved and changed weekly since our last show, and we haven't had a show in a couple weeks.
Right.
So I am not as up to date on this, especially because TCGplayer is being sold, right? Or got sold. There's some sort of situation with the ownership with eBay.
No. eBay bought it a while back.
Yeah, they bought
it. Oh, okay.
Like Chetty sold it for $290.
Oh, that's right. So,
$5 million,
but there's a negotiation. Some of the negotiation had to do with eBay as opposed to just TCGplayer.
Mm-hmm. But eBay's the owner. Like everything, they're the final say on a lot of stuff.
Right. And you're dealing with a giant corporation that has a whole bunch of money and a big old legal team that said, if you just move everything to Kentucky and say because something problems, all this goes away, your labor costs go down, and just get rid of them. So even if they got a better compensation on the way out, eBay's going to rake it in over time. So support your local game store, support other options where you can buy cards, other websites you can buy cards.
And I've seen other sites starting to do a little bit of a push of just like, hey, you can set up accounts over here if you were one of those people trying to sell through TCGplayer. Right. Now, some of them don't have all the options for like Pokemon and some of the other games or whatever. So that's got to come down the line. But at least for Magic, there's other options you can move for in the short term.
Yeah, it's weird, in a way, because it's tough to build out that technology to just be like, hey, now we can accept sellers on our platform, for example.
Sure.
Third-party sellers, and all that you need to do as a result of that. But, when there is an alternative and something goes wrong, it's pretty awesome to have that alternative out there. Be like, hey, take that software, plug it in over here or whatever, or use this translation table to move it from A to B and so on. But man, that's a lot easier said.
But dude, it's the reason I tell people, even with my business, even as a content creator, always have your options, have stuff in multiple places, use multiple services. Unless you have some type of exclusive deal where you can't,
right?
You're always benefited to having a little bit of reach in a couple other spots, even if it's small, just so if something like this happens, you can at least download some things, start pivoting, and move to the other spot, right? And you can be back up and running in 2 days.
And I do think it's important. Someone noted in the chat, there's some LGSs that are in this ecosystem, and they can't necessarily get out of it. And they're not villains for still selling on TCGplayer or whatever. Right. That's part of their business. They've done it for a long time. Again, you spending money at that LGS with them, not through the website, that helps them directly.
Yeah, let's talk about, we can talk briefly about effective protest and good ways to show your opinion while living under capitalism. Knowing the direction that your weapon is pointed and knowing the ammunition that you have are both important facets of effective opposition. Mm-hmm. And if your opposition is, well, screw the small retailers because TCGplayer and eBay are being jerks, that is the wrong conclusion. And I know you didn't get there like that's not the conclusion you wanted to get to, but it is the conclusion that oftentimes people do get to, which is to punish the small mom and pop shops because that's the closest thing to you as the person buying products. So doing your own due diligence and doing some research, talk to your friendly local game store perhaps and ask, how can I show my displeasure while still supporting you? Right? And a great way to do that is in chat rooms and in conversations online on places like Reddit or in Twitch forums such as this one, or on Blue Sky or on X. These are places where you can voice your opinion and add to the call to lead to the change you want to hear or that you want to see. It is not enough, however, to simply complain within your own little sphere. If you're, like, for example, posting to Facebook or posting to your Instagram, that tends to be your friend group and people who will agree with you. If you're putting up a wider breadth on your YouTube channel, that is going to be more helpful with your displeasure. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I want to note here someone on YouTube, don't be regressive about, like, a union to pack cards in a box. Yes, a union to back cards in the box, a union to serve you food, a union to clean the buildings that you use, a union to fix your car, a union. Yes, this is not, you got to think about this. The rich people trying to convince you that these lesser than jobs don't deserve any sort of pay. And that's how all of a sudden, you know, remember Al Bundy? He sold shoes, could afford a whole house and take his kids on vacations as a shoe salesman, and that was seen as like sad
Al Bundy
and
reference.
bad. Seriously,
I think it's worse than that though, because the person who made that statement is you're trying to minimize somebody else's job.
Yeah.
Right. Like there are people there that literally have expertise in collectibles, history, pricing, algorithms, you know, authentication of cards, you know, whatever. It's not just putting stuff in a box. I mean, I can tell you, even being at Card Kingdom, because they went through their issue 2 years ago with the unions and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like there were people, yes, some people just pulled cards and put them in a box, right? Or in an envelope, I guess it were.
Sure.
But I can tell you, there's also people that had to know how to use different types of spreadsheets and whatever, trying to compile numbers. People had to help me organize bodies whenever we're doing new set releases. And, you know, you have to know how to do people management. And like, there's so many levels of jobs behind the scenes that you don't even know about. And those unions aren't just saying for pay. It's for working conditions. It's for benefits. You get extra time off or not. Yeah. There's a bunch of other stuff that they affect. It's not just the pay. Because you might look and say, well, that job should only deserve $10 an hour. I don't know why they're fighting for more. Sure. But there's a lot of other stuff that they should have.
But what if a shelf falls on you in the warehouse?
Exactly.
Like you're lifting, if you're working in a Magic warehouse, you're lifting 50 pounds with your back and your knees pretty regularly. There's workers' comp, there's health insurance, there's all these other considerations that aren't just collective bargaining. I'm trying so hard to not go anarcho-communist.
I guess. Well, look, I'm just saying.
Just appreciate
like
that
this,
I could go
this
on.
job is not worth like being respected and paid well, and you know having the ability to work their way through a system that is just designed to crap all over them. I can't handle that.
I will say something. Be the bad guy here, though. If you are the person or the type of person that wants to devalue the person picking your fruit or the person, the custodian in your building or whatever. You're kind of a garbage human.
There's no such thing as unskilled labor.
Because those jobs make it where it's easier for us to live. Hell, just the custodian in your building that cleans up when you go home from work because they're working overnight makes it to where you can function.
Why do we have weekends? Unions,
The guy
have 4-hour work weeks. Unions, like
you come back here and make your espresso. You know how to work the machine.
I know. Yeah, go back there and make your chicken nuggets and your hamburger real fast. You
and get what you're yelled at by every person, even though you're doing your job right.
Right. That whole thing of like the job is like not worthy of like having money to have their bills paid. Bro, if you give them a 40-day work week, you should be able to, have a roof and transportation and God forbid a few fun things in your life. It shouldn't just be garbage.
The other thing that was interesting about the new news, because I'm tapped into the RPG sphere about this, is that Critical Role recently had a stream on their channel featuring 2 of their main creators and 2 guests who came in to play Commander, Final Fantasy Commander, sponsored by TCGplayer. And they have a very left-leaning progressive fan base. And they were quite upset with the allowance of this sponsorship. You might recall that Critical Role once did a one-shot sponsored by Wendy's, and they got a huge backlash to that because of all the crap that Wendy's had done to unions at the time as well. So this is all still current news.
All this still matters. So this is a thing. Cool. All right. So on to happier, fun things. Yeah, there's a thing that has been a weight around Wizards' neck for a very, very long time. Like, it's been a joke. I'm talking, it's been a joke for a good 15 years. And that joke, ladies and gentlemen, is Gatherer. Literally, we're gathering the townsfolk here. Gatherer is not something that almost any of us use. If you're listening to this podcast, you're using Scryfall. Like, you just are. There's no two ways about it. However, honest to God, somebody, God bless them, somebody at Wizards is like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it right, and we're going to make it look good. And if you go over here and you look at Gatherer, and you look at what like Gatherer has become these days, it is kind of incredible. Like, I can't believe what I've seen sometimes in terms of what they have, like the way that they have the cards set up, the way they have the printing set up. You can see all the different languages. Like, you can see whether it's the Oracle, the Oracle version or not the Oracle version. Like, this is awesome. I know, again, this is the most, uncelebrated thing I think that you can do, but it is an incredible job that they did to take something that was the redheaded stepchild of Wizards forever and ever to something that's really cool. This is great.
I'm going to take my piece of credit for this, even though I don't deserve it, and I absolutely didn't do the thing. But I honestly believe a lot of this happened because of the mobile app and how it uses to reference Gatherer, because it wasn't great with the old connections on Gatherer and stuff. And I bet you it's going to look a lot cleaner and be a lot better.
Yeah.
And, the new search functions and everything else, being able to do that quickly from your phone is going to be so much better with this layout and setup. And I bet you, I'm only saying that because I pushed for new tournament software when I was at Wizards Forever, and I'm kind of the one who got it all sparked up. But
look, man,
realistically, credit to whatever the team is who did this, honestly, because I do honestly, because whether people like it or not, the companion app is probably the best app that exists for tournament software right now, especially among card games tabletop stuff by far. Yeah. So making it where you can look up cards and everything else super easy and cleanly, I'm all for it. Like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, this is just one of the things that, I heard that, for people who worked at Wizards, this was the thing that just gets kicked down the road. No one really wants to work on it. Like, they'll talk about it, they'll have some meetings, but no one really wants to like sit down and do the work. They sat down, they did the work. This took designers, this took programmers, this took weeks of time easily, because, at least as we've discussed already, Scryfall just doesn't work as an official Wizard of the Coast product.
Sure.
Right.
They don't want to pay what it's worth. And if they were to pay what it's worth, they'd have to take away the reason that it's worth all that money.
Yeah.
So you can't have it both ways. So instead, they said, look, we'll take some money, hell of a lot less it was to cost than to buy Scryfall, and improve Gather. And
I would venture to guess at some point there was at least the discussion on it.
I'm sure.
Of course.
When you realize that Scryfall does make money from, their percentages here or there of ad sales and people selling cards from the links and whatever,
right?
Wizards wouldn't be able to do that and get a lot of that money. Like, it's just a thing you can't do. So it's like you just be buying it for the infrastructure and nothing else.
Sure. And so, it's a whole thing. And Scryfall is kept. I'm not sure exactly how Scryfall, works in terms of like, volunteers versus paid, contributors. But, it generates a very nice penny. And it's something that Wizards really couldn't use in the way that they use it. So I understand.
And if you don't want to use either Gatherer or Scryfall, might I still recommend Mythic Spoiler, which is still created by Tonda Rose, who made Blueprints, which is my favorite game. So
that's fair, but between those other two, you've kind of got the bases covered at this point.
Yeah.
Right. So look, moving on here. This is something that if you are a creator, if you are a fan of a creator, I want you to send them this link. I want you to show them this idea, because it's awesome. It's something that I would do with multiple creators, whether I was working in SCG and definitely when I was working at Cool Stuff, is to create an item, create a promo item even where you have Seraph 6 here, seraph6.com at Blue Sky, and they teamed up with FDL Gaming to make a collector bottle that features 13 different creators, and you find them at Vegas, and they give you a sticker to put on their logos. Their logos are in black and white, and the stickers are in color, and I'm like, mother of God, get on this. Like Kuro Hitsuki's here. Like there's a bunch of really cool creators that are around here, like Tappy Toe Claws and whatnot. Like this is brilliant. Do this, if you can't do it for yourself, try to get a team, for example, around. Try to have somebody who can kind of correlate this for you. The idea of making promo items and doing promo stickers and products and coins and whatever, this is awesome. It's a way for people to find you and want to find you. B, it gives you something to talk about and post about. And C, it's like a cool visual thing that you can rely on over and over again of like, do your thing, make a piece of content, whatever. Check out this really cool piece of graphic novel or graphic design stuff. Come find me at an event.
Yeah.
Do more of this, creators. This is brilliant.
It's great.
Yeah, this is a thing Wizards kind of had a version of for the last 2 years. I believe that Diana had put into place, but it was like a Magic Passport. So you come in, you get one, and every creator you ran into, a bunch of them had like special stamps made and stuff with like their logos and different things. You could fill out your passport by hunting everybody down, which was pretty cool. So this is like the next step of that. And hopefully, I'm assuming the group makes a little bit of money because people buy the mugs or the thermoses or whatever.
Right.
And then you can, have your collectible and put your stickers on it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make it like viable for sort of all those involved, essentially. Yeah. Make a product that you're going to be able to sell, but also make a product that you can help connect to like your fans and whatnot. It's one of those things.
It's great.
If you don't always have to do this, tokens are cheap, stickers are cheap, and
it also
are cheap. Like just come up with something like pretty promo items out there.
I have die cut stickers that I bring that I make for shows that I will be handing out. I have special tokens I've made to hand out and sign or whatever. They make such a big difference. And like they cost a little bit. Don't be wrong. There is an expense, but they're not crazy expensive. Like they're totally attainable for what they achieve.
And I also like the idea, just in general, as you mentioned with the passport and this as a creator team being put together, that the rising tide lifting all boats kind of thing of join the community and grow your audience. I think that if you are a part of another. Like if you're a part of a big Discord, for example, like the Lobby Pristine is Bobby Christine's Discord, but there's like 15 creators that use it as their home Discord for Magic creation. And if you're in there because you're a fan of one of them, you're gonna see the names of the other ones. Just like with the water bottle. You're like, all right, I'm here because I know who Tappy is and I know who Kuro are. I know that those two people exist. But who are these other people? Who's the Scry Foundation? Who are the Grim Tutors? Who's Little American Punk? Who are these people? And how can I become, are they my type of thing? And how can I become a fan of them? I think it's a great way to support each other and grow, even if you're the largest of the 12 that are on the water bottle or the largest of the 50 that are in the passport. It's such a low investment for such a good return.
All right, let's move on here to some competitive play announcements. Not going to go too far into this. I just want to know one thing. There's this thing that cracks me up about it. I'm bringing it up here on screen so you guys can check it out. The upcoming Eternal RCQs and Spotlight events and so on, right? Awesome. Cool. Regional Championship qualifiers. There are 2 promos for this Regional Champion qualifier event for our the most competitive of competitive events. I have a feeling internally Shoot the Sheriff was the nut and was way better than Go for the Throat for whatever reasons. And then Laughing Jasper Flint must have just been absolutely awesome because these are cards that no one is playing and yet are the promos for your most competitive events.
Dude, and sadly, they have 2 sweet pieces of art.
They do.
Great pieces of art.
I love it.
Like,
really
that's
excellent.
the work for like the cards, like the Shoot the Sheriff with like the hat, and I'm like perfect. But yeah, I get you. It kind of sucks that those are the things that got chosen.
Yeah.
Now, I will be fair to Shoot the Sheriff. I could see a world like post rotation that we're playing that.
Sure.
Laughing Jasper, I don't know.
Laughing Jasper Flint is one of the more popular Brawl commanders right now. There's a world where I could see that being an aggro deck that has some play, but no one's seeing any play in any amount of aggro deck while Monstrous Rage is around.
Well, yeah, of course.
But Shoot the Sheriff also, by the way, has one of the best reminder texts of all time because anyone else is fair game. So even if Shoot the Sheriff doesn't hit the big time, this will still be a wanted promo, pun intended.
Yeah, I do. You know, there is definitely some scary stuff about letting someone untap with laughing Jasper Flint.
Yeah.
So like that, and it is a cool card. It's just, I think right now, obviously, it's not the right, setup in the metagame and so on. But Shoot the Sheriff is probably just as good. If you were to put that in your deck instead of Go for the Throat, you probably wouldn't see much of any change in terms of the way it works. But Go for the Throat is actually still more, I think, versatile than Shoot the Sheriff.
Because somebody mentions like just make a proven card and put it in the RCQ. Actually, it's not that easy. A lot of these promos are chosen, especially ones with alternate art and whatever. They're done almost a year in advance.
Exactly.
Because they have to go commission the artwork, get it approved, make any changes. It has to go to the printing, blah, 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 right? There's a whole process to it. Right. It's the main reason that when I was at Wizards, we used to have that problem with Friday Night Magic promos. Like anybody who's played for all members, there was probably about a 2-year stretch where the promos were ass. Let's be honest. They were pretty bad. I mean, I was trying to be nice. They were bad. There was a lot of bad ones.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was me and Chris Tulloch actually that pushed it. Said like, hey, why do we just have to have these bad cards? Like they're just guessing based on internal tests and how decks look. They're like, this card looks like it's going to be impactful. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Right.
So what they did is we moved to a thing of let's just pick a kind of like signpost card, and then they got just a different border. So it's just like, okay, you have a new look and you don't have to commission artwork, but it's still a promo you can make quickly and put out there without having to get new artwork and everything. You just have to make a new form, basically, new file that goes to the printer. So, but if you want to do sweet art, sometimes this happens, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some other stuff here that's just fun to talk about. There are some Pride events that are happening right now. Also some Pride stuff you can buy right now, which is really interesting. Celebrate Pride at your local game store. You get to go and play in a Pride event that's happening between June 27th and 29th this month, where every commander gets a partner. Everybody's a partner. Let's go.
I saw this. This is a cool idea. Yeah. So you can, it's really interesting. This is similar to when they unbanned everything from the unsets for a month, where it's like, hey, let's have fun. Let's do something wild for Commander for a month. And I think that this is a great idea because you can build some crazy stuff if you have everyone has Commander. If you have ever played with partners in Commander, you know just how powerful it is to have that, just to have an extra card. Right. Just having an extra card in your opening hand that you always have access to is super worth it. A couple of the most powerful decks, most of the most powerful decks in CEDH are partner decks, just because you have an extra card and giving you that extra color identity pip. And I think this is a really fun execution of tying in the want for something mechanical while giving you something thematic and fun for the community at an important time of the year for that community. I think this is very cool.
Yeah, and that's one thing Wizards has been consistent about. There's the last few years, there's been some type of Pride event with some alternate rule of some sort. I think last year it was like bring your partner, some type of thing, if I remember right, to try to get people to show up and do like a two-headed thing or something. So they've tried something different every year. So it's pretty cool that they're keeping up with that.
Yeah, I think that's rad. And so a chromatic lantern, which has just been printed into the absolute dirt, but is still worth $2 no matter what happens, is your promo, which is awesome. And it could be like a good $4 or $5 promo before it's over. Definitely one of those types of cards that's going to be hard to get, years and years from now. There's also going to be charity products, which are here. There's the Lantern t-shirt. There's the Dungeons and Dragons t-shirt. There's 2 different play mats that you can check out, which I have up on the screen right now.
You know what I have to say? I think I like the Dungeons and Dragons logo for this year better than the Magic one.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty cool.
They're both pretty good. I do like. I think that for a playmat, this does make more sense. But I like them both.
Yeah. Oh, they're both good pieces. But I looked at them and went, man, I might get the D&D one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. You go to the mtgproshop.com/collection/pride. They are on sale from June 16th to July 31st. So get them while you can. And so that way you can help, raise some money for the LGBTQ plus center in Seattle and do some good. Fantastic.
There's also a set of Pride dice that they're talking about on the same page. If you scroll down a little bit, the Pride dice are available at your friendly local game store, WPN stores.
Yeah.
So ask your FLGS if they have the Pride dice to purchase, because those look gorgeous as well.
Dude, side note, not totally related, but it is dice. If you haven't been down the rabbit hole yet, Arby's has dice.
I've seen the Arby's dice.
They've done dice each of the last 3 years, and they sell out.
Yeah. Arby's. Yeah. Arby's has dice.
The place with the "we got the meat" or whatever, like them guys.
How do you buy Arby's dice?
You go on the website. They literally have had them available. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. They make custom dice with like the 20s or the little Arby's hat.
Oh my God.
They're expensive. I'm not making. They're top of the line, gemstone and metal Norse.
Oh, dude, they are highly collectible because they've sold out almost within an hour. Like each time they put them up, like it's insane.
Huh? So when are the next ones gonna be on sale?
Don't know, honestly.
Got to keep an eye out for it.
They launched in 2021 and 2023.
Oh, so even longer than I thought.
It's more than 50,000 person restock wait list.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so apparently these went on sale back in April, and I'm sure they went away very quickly.
Yeah. Oh, they totally did.
So
you got to set up a Google alert.
Yeah,
for sure. Wow. Okay, well that's incredible. So maybe next year if we can report on it soon enough. All right, let's move on here to Desperate Ravens really quickly. Not a lot going on. There was a few bits here. There's an expectation setting on the Edge of Eternity story. Apparently, Edge of Eternity story is kind of like out there, for lack of a pun.
I mean, it is literally out there.
It is out there in the space set. So apparently, it's going to be like its own kind of story that might impact things later. But
sure,
for now, it's like its own weird thing, and we'll get back to magic stuff with Lorwyn or whatever. And sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it's fine. I actually like this. I think that this is fun to do something along the lines of, this is what the early MCU succeeded at, which was they didn't try to tell Marvel Cinematic Universe stories every single movie. They wanted to tell an Iron Man movie. Great, we did it. And then they wanted to tell a different movie somewhere else that had nothing to do with Iron Man. Awesome, great. And eventually we earned the right to have an Avengers movie every once in a while, but it's not everything has to tie into everything. Not everything has to lead towards the ultimate cinematic universe collapse into everything everywhere all at once, except for that movie's great and didn't have a Marvel Cinematic Universe. But you get what I'm saying. This is a great thing for them to say, you know what? We can tell a story somewhere else that doesn't have an immediate impact, that doesn't involve Jace and Chandra and Nyssa and Elspeth and any of the main characters, and Lute and Kinnan and like all of the main characters we've been talking about. But it's in the universe close enough that we could tie it in later if we need to or want to. I think that that's brilliant. And I would love to see them do something like, if we're going to have 4 main sets a year, 4 standard legal sets a year, if we do 2 of them as Universes Beyond, those aren't tied to the story at all. I'd love it if we had 1 big main story arc story and 1, here's some backwoods, boondocks, some other story that might connect at some point, but like doesn't necessarily have to. I think that that's a great setup.
I like the idea of Edge of Eternities as an exploration of like, what does a goblin look like in space?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, is it just a weird Martian and we're going to call it a goblin?
How ugly is he?
Like, like, what does a space angel look like? I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, right? Like, I've not really thought about it till Wizards was like, we're going to do a set in space. And I'm like, I got questions. Like, I mean, like all of a sudden, like, I don't know what any of this is supposed to be or look like, which is, I don't think a bad thing, right? Like, it's the first set in a long time where I have no idea, like, I'm wide open to whatever you present me because I don't know what this is supposed to be or look like or whatever. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of things that are very weird and mysterious, are we still making pop figures?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're still making pop figures?
Hell yeah. Funko Pops are still very popular.
I mean, they went through some ups and downs money-wise and had to destroy like a couple $1 million worth of Pops because they were filled up their warehouse. But yeah, they're still making the damn things.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's like new Okos in here. There's a new Ashiok, a new Fibblethip, and it's like, who is buying these? Are y'all buying these?
You know that Fibblethip's going to move.
Yeah.
People like them some Fibblethip.
Right. Comments and likes if y'all are buying or not buying these, because I got to know. I don't know. I bought like one Nicol Bolas in like 10 years ago, and that was pretty much it for me. I was good. But we're still making these. I didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting.
I mean, they're still popular. I mean, this is the same issue that you run into with every product. Yeah. Magic's been around for 30 years. Are we running out of mechanics? Funko's been around for a while. Are they running out of things to make pops out of? It's the same question. Not. So, keep making toys if people are going to keep buying them.
As long as they keep making TV shows and whatnot, they'll have more products to make those damn Funko Pops out of.
Man, as long whatever is going into Fortnite can go on a Funko Pop.
Yep.
Yep. That will continue forever. All right, let's move on here to some splash damage. Ruben, tell me about Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford going to Darrington Press.
Yeah, this is a big deal. This is maybe the biggest deal as it pertains to a non-Dungeons and Dragons company getting Dungeons and Dragons talent. I want you to imagine for the moment that a competitor to Magic the Gathering came out, and it got a lot of hype, and it was, let's say, I'm going to make a hypothetical, let's say that the professor, Tolarian Community College, made a new card game. It wasn't a direct competitor with Magic the Gathering, but it was a trading card game. And so you could see how it could be seen on the same scale. Right? That's cool. That's neat. I think that a lot of people would be like, oh, that's interesting. They might compete, but like nobody's beating Magic the Gathering. Now I want you to imagine that in the same year, Mark Rosewater and Gavin Verhey left Wizards of the Coast. Mark Rosewater retires and Gavin Verhey leaves for whatever reason, and then both of them end up at this new card game. That's what happens here. Chris Perkins retired as the head of Dungeons and Dragons development for 30 years. No, I think he actually retired.
Yeah.
There is some conspiracy that this is not, this is some weirdness, but I think he actually retired. I think that after 5.24, 24 edition of D&D, he was like, all right, I'm done here. It's time to pass it on to the new generation. He went off, and then Darrington saw that he was available and offered him an offer. And then Jeremy Crawford, similar development design luminary, took over really from where Chris Perkins was, but then was lured away here as well. I think that both of them left without being offered anything by Darrington Press. I think both of them were just done with D&D. When you're a storyteller, when you're a game designer, and you've been at one place for 25, 30 years, you want to see what else there is out there. You don't necessarily want to spend all of your life on one project. Some people do, and some people, even lifers like Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, want to see new horizons. And that's what they've done here. And then Darrington Press, who is Critical Role design team that just came out with their new RPG Daggerheart, created by folks like Spencer Stark and Rowan Hall and Ivan Van Norman and that whole team. They have now drawn in Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, who together have 70 years of leading the way in the tabletop role-playing game industry. So I think that these two moves are not to be underestimated. I still don't know whether it means that there's going to be a seismic shift in the landscape. D&D is still the biggest that there is, and for the foreseeable future will be. But this is a big move. This is a big move if your intention is to take on the big boys.
Yeah, I think that's where, because people sent me messages like, oh, do you see this? This is going to change the game. And I was like, yeah, let's pump the brakes a little bit. I think I already had it on my radar that realistically, because of Daggerheart, Darrington Press could be the number 2 anyway.
Sure.
Right. I think just being attached to that whole project, that whole team, them having their weekly streams, having a huge fan base, they just have a leg up over every other RPG company. Right. Mm-hmm. They have a whole advertising vehicle with, hell, at this point, damn near 15 years of fandom built up, that they could feed into their products and sell, because they've made other even individual small things that have sold very well to their community. Yeah. This is going to be the same thing. I think a lot of other competitors have just never had that. I think the benefit of bringing on these guys is that it will at least have clean direction and a clean path. And like the places you would stumble probably are less likely to happen because you have this experience and think tank or whatever in the room with you every step of the way, which is the smart move, really, for that reason. But I don't think it's about taking on wizards. I mean, I think too often we can't accept like, hey, A is good and B is good, and that is okay. Yeah. Right? Like we too often say, oh, well, this thing has to be better than this other, or this thing has to take on the giant. And like it doesn't. Like there's a lot of things that are quality number twos that are just damn good. And they'll probably eventually fill the role of a quality number two. And this will just make sure they solidify it.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard of Daggerfall, was neat, or Daggerheart rather, was neat. It was that basically instead of rolling one die, you roll two, like a good die and a bad die. And if you roll, too much on the bad, not enough of the good, things change, and that changes the story. I think that's really rad. And ultimately, if these people can join, that's awesome too. Like indie games exist, and indie game studios turn into big game studios over time as they get hits, and they do very well. And if this is already, sort of your double A that wants to go to triple A, these are the type of people that you would hire, right? That you want to go from the big game to the best game. You want to go from the farm leagues to the big leagues. This is the type of stuff that you do. So I wish nothing about the best. I think it's really exciting for RPGs, to have this stuff happening.
And you want to have a competition. You want to have something that challenges the big dog. There's a joke in the industry in game design of like, yeah, you can design an RPG, but Dungeons and Dragons is something else. No one challenges D&D.
Right.
And this is the first time in a really long time where there's a realistic shot that something might challenge D&D.
Well, I think people forget that there was a point that everybody put Pathfinder on a pedestal.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And this was going to be the replacement. And this was going to be this thing. And it maybe had a couple of months here or there where it was really good compared to D&D. But in the long run, legacy products are legacy products for a reason.
Right. Pathfinder was kicking D&D's butt there for a couple of years until the 5th edition came out. Is that right? Because 4th edition was the one having all the issues, and that's where Pathfinder was cleaning
5th edition Dungeons and Dragons has never really been challenged.
Right. Like
previous to that, 3, 5, and 4 had challenges from things like Pathfinder and Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
There were
But if you looked across the industry, D&D was still the top seller.
Oh, it was still doing great.
Top seller.
But in terms of like excitement, I remember like Gen Con, for example. Pathfinder room was sold out, absolutely packed the whole time, and that type of enthusiasm was not there for D&D. Even though D&D was still being played everywhere, it wasn't the same as what Pathfinder.
I remember people pointing that out though. But that's also the fact of some people don't get to do that regularly. They were always getting to play D&D. You had to go to special places sometimes to get to play your favorite game or your second favorite game or whatever.
Because D&D is the common language.
Exactly.
Right.
If I go to Gen Con, like I almost never played Magic stuff.
Right.
Because I had Magic all the time. But I'd play some Raw Deal or whatever other crazy thing was going on.
Well, let's right before we get to the finish here, we do want to note congratulations to Desert Bus for Hope for writing a $205,000 check.
Woo!
Which was awesome to the BC Cancer Foundation. And that's just a great thing to say,
Amazing.
That they raised in one day.
One day. That is
that's the insane part. Over 200K in one day.
Wow.
That I get every time they do something, I literally just tell people like that whole team just phenomenal at everything they do. They really are.
Every single person who works at or for Loading Ready Run is just, I want to be their friend so bad. I want to work with and for them so badly. And the fact that they see success, it's never enough because of how good they are at what they do and how nice they are to everyone else. Sometimes the right people win and sometimes the right people become famous, and Loading Ready Run is one of them.
Dude, I've said it before.
I can't be happier.
When I worked with them, I literally left just telling them, like, I used to think I was on the right path and I thought I was a good person, and like now I don't feel like I'm crap. Like, I mean, after hanging out with them for a weekend, I was like, y'all are all awesome.
Literally on the way back to the airport, I was like, listen, I don't know how I get to work with you guys.
Look,
I literally told them, if anybody ever tells me they don't like them or have a problem with them, that's not even a red flag. That's a black flag.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like,
that's not okay.
That's a real problem. That something's probably wrong with you.
Look, man, if there's anything you want to check off the bucket list as a content creator in the Magic space, going to the moon base, being a part of anything they do, if it's pre-release or anything else, anything like that is just, that's the feather. And I loved every minute being there. That was great. Let's turn the corner here to the finisher. MagicCon Vegas 2025 starts tomorrow. So tell me, what are your plans for the event, Ruben?
Well, I have some scheduled events on the docket. I have a meet and greet on Sunday at 10 a.m. if you want to come see me there. I'm running a D&D one-shot on Saturday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. called Let's Kill Xanathar. And I, of course, have my regular Vegas meeting scheduled on Friday night, which is to lose $1,000 on drinks and bad bets at the crab table.
Dang.
Fair.
Power Dragon?
Yeah, I'll be busy starting tomorrow. We have a Juneteenth thing I'll be going to. I have to help with the Black Lotus VIP events. I think I've got like 3 meet and greets sign up. There's a secret event that will be announced, I believe, on Friday that I have to help out with something on Saturday. So that'll be a thing. So yeah, a lot of stuff going down this weekend. I'll be all over the place. Feel free to come find me. I have stickers, tokens, fun stuff to give away for you if you can find me on the show floor.
That's right. And look, well, y'all, I have an incredibly busy MagicCon Vegas plan all weekend long. I will be unavailable. Sadly, I'm sorry. I'll just be too busy in Tennessee, being introverted and being with my kids.
Oh, okay.
Which is fine too. But
yeah, with your kids.
I'm
all right.
There. That's okay.
Yeah, but the punchline was that you're introverted.
I know. The punchline is I'm introverted, and I'm just going to be over here in my little hole. See you later.
It's okay. Maybe we'll get you out of the house for Atlanta. Although I don't know that I'm going to Atlanta, so...
Yeah. So that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Power Dragon.
Hey, as always, good to be here. Super fantastic. And hope everybody has a good time this week.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ruben.
Hey, this is like, I know that the number isn't supposed to be important, but this is the most people we've had in chat in a while, and this is making me feel good. So thanks, everybody, for showing up. It makes us feel nice when you guys join us. Yes. If you have more thoughts and opinions on the show, please join the Discord so that we can decide what to talk about and know the news and all of that kind of stuff. And then do the rest of the things that Evan is about to say.
Look, and we do hang out there in the Discord and do interact and say hello and share things and like stuff and share memes and deck lists I'm working on and all sorts of random stuff. So hang out and check it out. That said, I'm going to move on here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, Power Dragon, and Ruben Bressler. Viewers like you for watching or listening. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, Blue Sky, everything else. Tell social that we exist. Catch us on our exclusive member Discord. Subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/magicmics. Join us here live on Twitch and on YouTube. Check us out on TikTok and Blue Sky. Join us here next week. Same time, same place for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.